Hello everyone. How's everybody doing today? This is Alana Worf, Sleepless Stamper, and I'm just getting everything pulled up on my end here so I can follow along. It looks like it's actually there. Hi Ramona, how are you? We just had MTS leave, so hopefully things will work out okay for tonight. They are supposed to come back and redo some lines next week, and then apparently we're getting fiber optic in June, which is sooner than I thought it would be. So that's good. And hopefully this will all stay connected. I'm just gonna bump this up a little bit while I'm doing this live. So we are back today with day 3, but project 4, because yesterday I did 2 projects to catch up for Monday of the Unbounded Beauty Suite. So I am going to create this card for you guys today. This one is actually inspired by a set of in-color cards that I saw by, I think her name is, I don't know if it's her first name or if it's just her blog name, but Loretta May. And she had made some similar to this, though I did not see the full green card. I just saw kind of like a snippet of them, the in colors spread out. So I have pulled some inspiration from that and then also turned it into an easel card. So this is the card that I'm going to make for you guys today. And Ramona, this actually tempts me for In Color Club, though then you guys would be making a card that I've already done on a live, but I'm super tempted to use Unbounded Beauty for In Color Club and then do this series of colors in with this as one of our designs. You can let me know what you think about that. But this is project number 4, and I will do a quick little recap of the suite for you guys so that if anyone is new today, you guys will see what we are working with. All right, so in the Unbounded Beauty Suite, there is this Unbounded Love stamp set, and it coordinates with these really pretty label dies. So there are more than this. I've got some set aside here because I was using them for this card. So we have these ones here. Hi Linda, how are you? So these are the dies that come with the Unbounded Love greetings, and just making sure there isn't any missing. I don't think so. I think this is the whole set. And then we also have the Flowers of Beauty stamp set, and there's definitely some that are not on this one. So let me just see if I can grab them quickly. This large one, Ryan was helping me cut layers for this, so he has set that one somewhere, but you can see it here. So it is this really big label that I have die cut this with. All right. And then I have this one here that I am going to use for these here. And that might be it. But anyhow, you get lots of really pretty dies. These are the ones I've been raving about every day. I love this little strip of flowers, but both of them are actually, sounds fine to you, that's awesome. We're just going to turn a fan on in here, and if it's too noisy, then I will shut it off, but it's warm in here. I think that's going to be too loud, though. Let me know if you guys hear the fan going too much. I know I had one light at one time that created a buzzing noise. I couldn't hear it at my end, but it would cause this weird feedback for viewers. So please let me know if that is an annoying sound. Ooh, you're working on a birdhouse card right now. Ramona can't wait to see some stuff with that, Linda. So you'll have to share them with us. All right, so we have all of those different stamps and dies, and then there is the patterned paper that I have been working with the last few days. So here is some of it. You've seen this one and this one here. So really pretty pattern paper that goes with it, and then there's glitter paper in all of the in colors. So this one here is the Shy Shamrock glitter paper that comes with that suite. All right, so now I don't think, and then I believe actually these shimmer gems go with, one of these sets of gems goes with that suite. I can't remember which one it is, but one of the sets of in color gems. So if you would like to, feel free to share the video. and then come back and comment to let me know that you have. I have a day left until tomorrow for you to register for the Take to the Sky Suite class, which is this one on June 11th. And then I also have until tomorrow, I believe is the deadline I put on my page, for you to register for this class here, which is the ephemera pack class. So hi Shauna, how are you? If you would like to take part in the ephemera pack class, with this one here, you're basically just paying for all of the ephemera packs and the Calming Creek card bases, and then you'll get to make the cards with me for free. So if you are interested in that one, it is June 5th, and then Take to the Sky is June 11th, just in time for Father's Day. The prices are listed on my page, but if you have any questions, just let me know and I can help answer those. And then we only have one day left of the join promotion. So if you would like to get the in color ink pads, markers, DSP, and cardstock for free, you have until tomorrow to join Stampin' Up, whether that is my team or somebody else's. You can get those things for free. Okay, so I will review the supplies now for you guys. And it looks like perhaps I don't have the shaded spruce. Or not shaded spruce, sorry. Shy Shamrock. Gosh, I can't get my color straight. I almost called it just jade a minute ago. And then I called it shaded spruce. How many of you have all of the in colors already? Or are you in an in color club where you are going to get them over the next 5 months? We began our in color club last night, and that's where I was saying I feel like this would be really fun to do with in color club. So this is a 4 1/4 by 11, and I will show you the score lines for that. That's going to be the card base here. And then this layer here is 3 3/4 by 5. So this remaining piece I'm going to flip and cut at 5, and then I'll rotate and cut at 3 3/4. So now I have all of this left over for another project. All right, so those are our 2 main layers. Next, I have a white layer to match the size of this one, which is 3 3/4 by 5. That's going to be the liner of the card. And then I have a piece of 3 by 3 in the striped coordinating in color. So Shy Shamrock striped in color DSP. You get the 6 by 6 pack like this. If you've joined this month, you'll get this free. If you are in an in color club, you may get it with the one that you're in. In my club, they get the color of the month in the DSP. This scrap I have for stamping some leaves. Then I also have this one here. I showed you guys maybe yesterday the Beyond Thanks, I think it might be called. Ryan was helping me clean up, and I think he put them away. Here they are. So these are the Thanks and Beyond dies from Paper Pumpkin. I believe they're still available. I hope they are, but I love this Thanks. I've been using this a lot. That will stay in my collection. And then I use this little label die from that to create this here. And I'm just going to cut a little strip off. If you decide to participate in my weekly class where you will get the supplies to make all of these cards, I will include the whole die cut, and then you would cut it along with me if you come back to watch the video, and maybe you'll even decide you don't want to cut it. So I'll give you the whole label, then you would get the scrap paper for stamping. It might not be so big, but I'll give you some scrap for stamping your flowers. And you will also get the die cut stem. I will also give you a strip of white twine, and I will show you how you're going to color that. Then on the inside, that is this piece here that I've already reviewed with you. Then I have a little strip of the in color paper, which is the same as this one here. I have also die cut the in color glimmer paper as a little backdrop. I wanted to help this little label pop a little bit because it was so tone on tone. So I decided to pull this in, and then that also ties into our little die cut, or our big die cut that's on the front of the card. So you would get all of those, and then you would also get this label here that I've used on the inside of the card to create the little prop. When you do an easel card, you need to have something to prop it up so that it stays standing. I love easel cards, especially because I like tent fold cards, and sometimes they don't stay standing. They kind of give way at the fold a little bit, which is why some people love a book fold card instead. So when you have an easel card, I love that it will stay standing. You just need a little prop, so that's where I brought this in here. All right, so those are the supplies. And if you already own these, you can always come back and watch this video and follow along with those measurements so that you can make this card. Now, perhaps I'll even go back and add measurements into the description. That might be useful. So if you plan on creating these cards later by getting the card kit, well, if you have the card kit, then you'll have everything pre-cut, but I can always add the measurements if you guys think that's helpful. Sorry, just had to drink some water. Okay, who's ready for me to make a card instead of so much talking? I just got water on the edge of my card there. It'll dry, it's okay. Now, if you've been here for a few minutes, please tell me if you hear the fan, if it is annoying. I'm gonna just move this little ornament that I have. Shauna will probably recognize this. This is from Brenda's Secret Sister program back in 2021. It's hanging on my Archon mount, but it's clanging with the fan, so I just moved that. All right, so we are going to start with doing this stamping here and this stamping here. Thanks, Ramona. And so I will get this ready. I have this stamp here. I'll show you it on the case just so that it's helpful, which is these leaves. And I'm going to use Memento to stamp that. And then I have my Shy Shamrock blends for coloring them. And I also have the Happy Birthday greeting here that I'm going to stamp with Memento as well. I had originally stamped it with the, again, I'm about to call it Just Jade. I don't know why. But I liked how the black helped give a little bit more contrast. But there's the difference, just so you can see that. All right. And then I decided to add in some die cuts and color them in. Okay. So we're going to stamp this with Memento. And to help conserve your paper, you can always flip-flop, just as long as you have left yourself room for both die cuts. That's going to be very close, so I am just going to stamp another set so that I don't color that all the way in and then find that they're too tight to each other. All right, now I'm also going to, I want to cover this up while I cut this just so that I don't drop anything in the ink pad. I'm going to bring this in here and I will just line up these 2 points on the blade, and you want to put this flat edge up against the guide here. So with the flat edge to the guide and the 2 points against the edge of the blade, you can just cut that off. So you could always save that if you have another use for it, but there we go. Now I can bring in the Happy Birthday and my Memento again, and we're gonna stamp this. Now, the other day when I used this Happy Birthday, I intentionally stamped it crooked. So kind of on an angle through the oval. I'm going to try to go mostly straight today. And it's a little higher up. There we are. Now we're all done with Memento, but I do actually need to bring this back in and clean it so that I can stamp some of the Shy Shamrock leaves on there. Again, I was about to call it Just Jade. I don't know what it is with that. And there's some of my die cutting tape. Okay. I have a little scrap sheet that I just want to tuck underneath here. I could just wipe off the gloss mat, but this will just be a little less cleaning. So I'm going to stamp these ones over the corner there. And then I am going to stamp this one a little further over. Right here, it happened to just line up exactly with my die cut. I did not intend for those to line up, but I want to see a little bit more of this. So I am going to stamp these ones right in there. And then that way when I place these in here, we'll still see a little bit of that stamping. Okay, so we'll just put this aside. And I'll just move these things out of the way so they're not quite so cluttered. And I'll close this up. Can you see I have been creating, look at my hands, they're covered in ink. All right, it's better than being covered in paint. Sometimes they're covered in paint too, like when we've been painting the entire house. All right, so I'm gonna start with the light Shy Shamrock, and I'm going to just simply color in the whole thing. So I'm not doing anything fancy. I am just laying down a layer of color on the whole leaf. Now, usually we would say do a portion of the image and then carry on and don't do two at a time. Like don't color this one and then go to the next one. I'm gonna break that rule and I'm just gonna do all of the light coloring. They're pretty small and I'm not doing really fancy shading, so it'll be okay. But usually you would not care, or you wouldn't color in one image and the other image before you add your shading. Do you have that ornament too, Shauna? So now I'm coloring in the smaller sections of the leaf with the dark Shy Shamrock. Eventually I will get used to saying Shy Shamrock instead of just Jade, and it won't want to come out of my mouth like just Jade every time. There we go. So that's one layer of the dark, and then I'm going to come over I'm just kind of going to the outside edges of the dark part first with the light. I'm not coloring the whole thing in with the light just yet. And there is no particular method to this. This could be completely against what you're supposed to do. I just went to town coloring, so that's what I did. Don't feel like you have to stick to some like hard set of rules. Crafting is meant to be creative. Hi Sandy, how are you? Happy Friday Eve, I like that. It does look like just Jade, especially on screen, doesn't it? Now I'm going to bring in the dark again, and I'm gonna go over that dark portion one more time. Just to bring in some more depth. And this is just like super easy coloring, nothing fancy like I was saying. Now I'm gonna come over that, just do the whole leaf. Look at that, I went out of the lines. And I'm just kind of swiping over this with the light again. Just a quick swipe to just blend that out a bit. I don't know if any of you are on my regular Facebook. I know some of you are. And we've been having this issue with the tree. I can't remember if I talked about our tree, but our beloved birch tree. I'm just trying to get rid of these little dots. And I'm going to bring in my little scrap sheet, because if you are trying to lift color, it's actually not lifting it, it's pushing it through the paper. So I'm going to just press on that and hope that that fluid helps push that color through and into the paper behind it. It is a gorgeous font. I agree with you. I love the greetings in this set. So I'm just pressing this through so that hopefully, so you can see there, that little bit of color disappeared now. So I'm just pushing that through there. Yeah, we have this beautiful birch tree. Well, it was beautiful, and it's not looking so beautiful this year. Last year it started looking pretty sick. I'm sure that it was actually sick before it showed visible signs, but started looking like it last year on one side, and this year almost nothing is leafing up. There's a tiny little bit of green showing, and it's sad. It's like our everything. We call it the everything tree. We do all of our photos there. The boys have always loved climbing that tree, and if we have to cut it down, I will be so sad. Like graduation, first day of school, we do all of those photos in front of this tree. And some of you may not know this, but our youngest son will graduate next year. So he is finishing up grade 11, and then next year he'll be in grade 12. So last year when it started looking kind of sad, we were saying, oh, it better last through his graduation so that he can have his last first day of school photo and his graduation photos there. I'll be so sad if it doesn't make it, so we're just trying to decide what to do. And these leaves reminded me of our birch tree. Not that they're birch leaves, but I hope you didn't mind that little sidebar while I was coloring. So there we go. I'm gonna die cut this. I'll bring in the little die cutter. I think I say this every time I bring this on screen. I love this little machine. It takes a little bit of getting used to at first, and the sandwiches are a bit different than your usual, but I love it. Okay, so we're gonna put this through. They said it got some birch beetle or something like that, or tree. And that once they get that, there isn't really anything that you can do for them. So, and they were surprised that we still had one, but there must not be, hi Denise, other birches in the area. Otherwise, it probably would have gotten this bug sooner. I'll have to post a picture of our tree for you guys, if you care to see it. And when the hoarfrost is on that tree in the winter, I love it in all seasons. I love it in the fall, I love it in the winter. It's right outside our front window. Basically fills up our front yard. There we go. So we've got those two die cut. And now I can put this away. Sorry for the clanging. Now we can bring all of this back in. I'm going to I've got to wipe off. I used some sticky note tape to hold that in place, and I can just wipe that off. So it's just, there we go. Now it'll stop sticking to my hand. Seems to be common with birch trees. Yeah, that is what they say. Like they just, for over the years, so many people who have come by here have said they can't believe that we still have one and that it was so big, because they tend to get sick. And so we were always very grateful, still are, but I don't want it to die. All right, now we have all of these, and actually I'm not ready for those. I have a technique I want to do to this first, and then before we assemble, I will show you the score lines. So it's not super obvious, but I did some blending behind here. I didn't want all of this to just blend right in so much, so I added, because you can see here, you guys can let me know what you think of it. It's like, I love tone on tone, but it is a little muted. So I decided to add, now if you were making this on your own later and you don't want to add this step, there's no harm in that if you want to just leave it. But you can see there that there's a little bit more depth in the color of this one. So I added some blending to this layer before I put anything on. So I'm going to just move this aside, and I have a blending brush, and then I'll bring back in my Shy Shamrock ink pad, and I am going to do some blending. So this is a glass mat, as you can probably tell from the lights glaring off of this, but because it's a glass mat, I can just use this as my blending surface. So I'm just going to pick up some ink. Normally we would tap this off on here before we put the blending brush onto here, so that you don't get that big blob in the middle of your canvas. However, this is going to be mostly covered up with this piece of DSP. So I'm actually going to just start here and then work my way out. Now I apologize, you guys, you know what, out of habit, I don't even know that I can. I keep going to tap there. So I might just have to do that because it throws off my rhythm if I just go straight onto the cardstock. So then I can pick this ink up. I'm so sorry that the camera is shaking while I do this, but so I'm gonna try to put most of this ink to the outer edges so that we can see it, because a bunch of it is gonna be, like I said, hidden behind that piece of DSP. Now I did do, I wonder if you can see it on the back of here. No, we can't. Thankfully, it's on the bottom half. I was not particularly mindful of that when I put this together, but I originally started blending from the outside in, and then I decided I didn't want that. I wanted the blending to go from the middle out, but you could always switch that up too if you prefer that. And I'm not going to blend necessarily the whole thing, just enough that I can see a little bit of it coming out behind that square so that there's a little bit of contrast. Okay, so I'll pick this up and apply that, and then I think we're good. And this here, again, doesn't really matter because the color, or the DSP, is going to cover those concentrated little blobs up. Okay, so what I did next, I'm gonna just close this up. Otherwise, I will have more ink all over my hands. I have an aqua painter. Sorry, it's an old style one, but I am going to just squeeze it just a tiny bit so that there's some water in the tip, and then just flick over that blending. So you can see there, the water is lifting that color off. And I want to make sure that some is in the outer area where we're actually going to see it. Now you can just take a paper towel or cloth, whatever you have. I'm going to dry up that extra water droplets, and I'll bring this closer so you can see. So there is all of that splatter in there. And then there's one more. I'm going to move this out of the way. I have my dark, this time I almost called it Call Me Clover, my dark Shy Shamrock blends. And rather than flicking this and damaging the tip, sometimes I still do that, but rather than doing that, hi Teresa and Audrey, I'm going to take the brush tip and my bone folder, and you can just knock the barrel, and I'll bring this closer in just a minute and show you. You can see there's spatter all over there now. So let's see, hopefully you guys can see those little splatters of the Shy Shamrock all over the cardstock. So now I'll bring this back in and I'll show you this piece of DSP on top of there again. So again, the big blobs are going to be hidden, but we've got a little bit of that showing on the outside, and it just helps this pop a little bit more. So hopefully you guys can see the difference, but now I find it's not quite so blended in. We've got a little bit of contrast. So that will be the technique I have there. Now there's one more step. You can see here that there is more contrast around the edges. I'm going to bring back in my Shy Shamrock, and I'm going to take this, and this is just a quick tap along the edges. So I'm not dragging it, but just a quick tap. My Shy Shamrock is still pretty juicy, so I really don't need much, but there we go. Now we have just a slight definition of that layer. So you can see the difference from one layer to the other, and without adding a matte, you still get a nice contrast between one layer and the next. So hopefully that's a tip for you guys for today. So before I assemble, I'm actually going to quickly bring my Simply Scored in and create the scores that will, or make the scores that will create our easel. So this is 4 1/4 by 11, and on the 11-inch side, I'm going to score at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. That's it. All right, so now we can put this aside for a few minutes, and bring this back in. We'll get these layers ready. Oh, there's one more step I forgot to do, you guys. I'm sorry about that, but I want this to be set aside for a bit. So we're gonna backtrack here. I'm gonna bring in my dark shy shamrock again. I promised you I would show you how I got this colored twine. I could have left it white, and I think I actually would have really liked the white twine, but I thought I'd try something different for today. So I'm gonna take my dark shy shamrock blends, and I'm going to color about 10 inches of white twine, and it will twist a little bit, so you're gonna have to color more than once, and just carefully use the side of your brush tip. If you really wanted to, you could use re-inker and you could leave some white twine in that to dye it, but you would have to allow for a lot of drying time if you were doing that method, because you would not want the color to bleed onto your project. There we go. You need just a little bit more over here. There. So that should be enough. I've probably just swiped that green on my face. Somebody here will likely tell me when I come out of the craft room. And then I'm going to just snip where I stopped coloring. I could have cut that off first, and then I better just color the end. There we go. Now it will be a little stiffer than regular white by the time it dries. The alcohol in it will cause that to happen, the alcohol in your blends. Okay, so I'm going to just set this aside, and I want to quickly wipe this up. I know it won't come off on my project because it's alcohol and it's probably just dried right up, but for my peace of mind, I'm going to wipe it up. So that was 99% isopropyl alcohol. You can get that at a pharmacy or drugstore. You just, at least around here, you have to go and ask for it. It's behind the counter because of the alcohol. See, look at that. Because of the alcohol content in it, so they don't just leave it out on the shelf. So if you are around here and you're thinking, well, I've gone and looked for it and it's never there, that's why they keep it behind the counter. All right, so now we can go ahead and glue this on. And I will just roughly place it with equal spacing on the sides and the top, as best I can anyway. And that was just Tombow that I used there. I could have outlined the edges of this also with the ink pad. Probably should have thought about that, but that's okay. Now I have glue dots, and I have some negative spaces that need to be popped out. You can always leave those in too. Sometimes the glitter paper will just hold those negative spaces in for you if you like that look. I am placing this behind the thicker parts of the die cut. And I'm going to do one at the bottom here as well. There we go. So 3 of them. Now I'll show you a trick. This little, I don't know if you can see that, but right here, I'll see if you can see it there. Right behind here, there's still a little bit of the glue dot showing. So if you just push that backwards, so I'm just grabbing it and folding it behind the die cut so that none of it sticks through to the front. And if you're like us, we've got a black cat, so if this card were to sit anywhere, she would get cat hair on it. So I like to just tuck any little glue dots backwards so that she can't do that. And then now I can just tuck that down. And it's okay. I like it when it's got like a little bit of flowiness to it. So I don't like to, often anyways, I prefer not to die cut with adhesive sheets so that there's a little bit of movement there. Now this I will dimensional onto my card. So we're going to snip some of these. Can you see I started a new sheet of dimensionals for today? Yesterday we were using black ones, I think, or that was maybe in Color Club. I can't remember if it was with you guys or Club because we had both yesterday. So I've just snipped these in half, and I will put one on the tip there too. But for today, we went and grabbed a new sheet. There we are. Can you guys believe that we're at another Thursday? I can't. Baffles me where time goes. And that'll be me saying this next year when we're like coming right upon graduation for Lennon. That I believe, because it was the same with Ethan. Time flies. Truly. It does. Okay. Except for when you really want something to hurry up and come, right? Okay, so now I have my little die cuts that I stamped, and this is going to tuck right up in here. So I did a dimensional, half a dimensional on this leaf, and then I just placed this right here and angle it a little bit over the edge there. And then, and you could stick a glue dot there if you want to. Maybe I'll stick a small one just to help hold that in place. And you can just do that. Now I'll get this one ready. So this one I have put one dimensional in this little side here where it's going to overlap, and then I'm going to put one under the tip here, or a half one I should say. If I could pick it up. And then I'm going to do a double decker underneath that stem. So I can grab these two, because that is where it will stand alone and needs a double decker. Okay. I feel like the greeting is missing some splatter. Do you guys? I feel like I need to splatter some Shy Shamrock over that. There we go. See, I prefer having some of these leaves stick out here instead of being hidden behind the leaf. I was saying earlier, if you weren't here, it was not intentional that that leaf would almost line up with that. I wanted them to stick out a little bit more. I wasn't sure where I was going to put those leaves when I stamped the ones on here, which is why that ended up that way. But that's okay. Like, see how stiff that is? From like your basic baker's twine would not normally sit like that. So then I just kind of run my hands over this to give it some pliability. So if you do that, it'll be a little easier. I mean, you could still tie a bow with it, but it just softens it up some. So there we go. Now it's a little better, not so crispy. Hi, Margaret. How are you? So we'll tie that bow. I also played around with some gems, but I wasn't loving them on here. So this is going to go right there. Do you think I should splatter some blends on there? Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to glue dot this one in the meantime, and I'm going to use the little itty bitty glue dots because they're perfect for baker's twine bows. So we're going to just stick that right there. I need to trim just a little bit off. There we are. Now we need to add this to the card base. This would be pretty just by itself. If even if you weren't layering it, like if you did your card front like this, I think it would be super pretty. However, I will still add it to the card base, and I do have one more stamp to do. I need to stamp the Celebrate that is going to go on the middle, and I will just check if you guys think I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna add some splatter. So I will do this the gentle way. I'm going to just take my marker and add a little bit of, there we go. Now it's not quite so stark. I like it when it's got a little bit of character. So there's just a little bit of splatter in there if you can see it on the screen. Okay, one more stamp. I'm sorry I forgot this one, you guys. I have my embossing buddy. You want to make sure you do that. There's not too much coming out at once, so I'm just patting that over a few times. And I have my Versamark and white powder handy, and the Celebrate, which is also from this stamp set. We have, like, I love this one. It's got so many greetings that you can pair on the outside and the inside. So we have the Celebrate, which is right here. And I've been telling you guys this all week. They are not true to size from what you see on the front of the case to what's inside. So when, I know sometimes what we'll do is, or what I will do sometimes, I don't know if you guys do, but I would take my die and I will line it up on the case to see if that's going to be a good size. But on this case, you can't do that, or you can, but it's just not going to be true to size. So I would then instead take my actual insert out, or you can use this one. So you could, they're backwards on here, but you could take your insert out and then line them up like this, because of course then that's true to size, whereas the case is not. So if you are like me and you often use that as a tool, just be mindful of that for this one, that the case is not the true size. Okay, so we've got that. I'm going to stamp that. I have already embossing buddied that. So now I've inked up with Versamark and stamp that. I'll bring back in my little scrap sheet. I really need to dig out my, I dropped that on the floor, my embossing tray. If I had my embossing tray, I wouldn't have dropped that on the floor, right? Where is the little die? This is from the Unbounded Love. I will bring that back in again. These dies are the Unbounded Love dies. So this one, Ramona, I can't remember. I don't think you got this one with your vendor sale credit, but you did get the Flowers of Beauty. Oh, things are about to go flying off the desk. Okay, I'm going to just put a little bit more on the C, and I'm actually going to put a little bit more on the E. And there we go. I think there was a little hair in there. Fill that back in. I actually haven't ordered yet, so if you need to, there's no pressure to, but if you need to switch something, you absolutely can still do that. Because MTS showed up and I couldn't even get my cell phone to work. So I was like, I could not even get Instagram to do anything. I was trying to find something there. It wouldn't work at all. So, which shouldn't be the case. You'd think my cell phone would still work. But anyhow, so now I can emboss this, or heat this, I mean. I'm going to just shut that off for a second. There we go. Hi, Jan. How are you? So, Jan, I hear that our neighborhood should be getting fiber optic internet very soon, or whatever lines you want to call them. I guess it's probably not just internet, is it? I don't even know. Oh, I see. Good job, Ramona. There we go. There will always be another special, and there will always be another week of projects, right? I've got to decide what to do next week. I was just saying, John, that we didn't have internet earlier, but that wasn't like a block-wide thing. That was just us, because our lines have been so wonky that they came to look at it. And there's something else they're replacing here next week, and that will be ahead of the fiber optic. But anyhow, okay, so with the insert here, I am going to adhere this. I will just open this up as a guide so that I usually, once I've made a sample, I use that as my guide the second time. So this little strip is slightly narrower, but that's okay. I had a scrap left over that I decided to use for this, and I just didn't cut it perfectly in half, but I'm okay with that. Sometimes I even end up liking the second one better. So that is 3.5 by about 3/8, but whatever scrap you have will do. Now this actually cuts this in 2 separate pieces. So you can see there that this is a frame and an insert, but I wanted both. So I am going to take my tear and tape, and I am going to, just got to find the end, tape them together. So I will just lay that down, and I'm going to put this piece of tape, whoa, it's a little bit too short. So now it's holding one end. There's a little cat hair in there, but it's on the back. No one will ever know. It is so awful. I don't know, Jan, if you've noticed, but the internet over here has been so awful lately. Every time I've gone to come live in the last little bit, it's been such an issue. Okay, I need to actually peel this backing off first, this one that I put here, otherwise I won't get that off after. So I am just putting the tear and tape so that it extends from the little scalloped frame right over the insert. And then I'll put one on all 4 ends, or all 4 sides. Sorry, that fan is blowing things around. Okay. And then we also have, maybe they'll come tomorrow, the spraying for those awful canker worms in the trees. Did you get yours done this year, Jan? We should have coordinated. There we go. So that is just overlapping the stripe. Now this here, I am going to dimensional over top. And normally we wouldn't put dimensionals on the inside of a card, but in this case we need one because it is the prop for the easel. So we need it a little bit raised in order to hold that up. So this time I will dimensional, just in case you're just hopping in and didn't see that easel at the start of the video. That's why I am placing a dimensional on here. Now I also placed them purposely so that the dimensionals would not, here I'll move this one over a little bit actually. I don't want them to sit solely on the glitter paper because adhesive has a hard time sticking to glitter paper. So I wanted them to go out, I wanted to extend them out a little further so that they will actually grab onto the cardstock that is on either side. I hope that makes sense. Oh, yours came yesterday. We had 2 little ones this afternoon in the backyard. They were very, very tiny, but they were the first I had seen over here anyway. So hopefully they will show up tomorrow, and hopefully then they're not a problem. They were just like almost so small that I didn't even see them. Okay, so that is my liner, and it's going to go on the inside of this one here. So I will first burnish my folds. So in case you missed this at the beginning, this is a 4 1/4 or halfway through. This is a 4 1/4 by 11. It is scored at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. We will burnish this fold as usual. Oh, there's sirens going by. And then we're also going to fold this one in and burnish that one. Oh, sorry, I just hit the camera stand. All right, so now we have this. And now that we've burnished that, I'm going to go ahead and adhere this inside. If you guys have been around at all this week, you have heard me say I don't like using my Tombow on the back of a big white space of basic white. I find it leaves a little indent that I can see from the front, and it bothers me. So I just don't do it if I can help it. So I am going to use my Stamp and Seal Plus for this part here because I don't find that it does that. Now with Stamp and Seal Plus, I find if you just apply gentle pressure and lift, then it stays on track. So if you don't go too hard or too light, just kind of gentle pressure and keep the applicator flush, like don't rock and roll it, just keep it flush, and then just press and lift, then it tends to behave. I can't speak for regular seal because I don't tend to use it, but I do love Stamp and Seal Plus for things like this. And then see, there's no little indented lines. It's just like a nice smooth adhesive. All right, now that that's the inside done, I can attach our front to this one. So what I'll do here is I'm gonna put dimensionals on the back of this. So this is the bottom part of it. I will do the outer corners of the bottom, put one in the middle, and now these two I'm actually going to place here. I know those are far enough in that they won't exceed the sides, but by not putting them on here, I know that they're also not going to go too high, because if I put them too high here, it'll hold this down and it won't flap up like that. And we want it to be able to flap up. So otherwise we wouldn't have the easel function. So we can peel all these off. So all 5 are now peeled, and then we can just center this. Just gotta not let things stick before I have it aligned. There we go. Now we have 2 easel cards. So that is card number 4, day number 3. What do you guys think? I think that we should maybe do this for In Color Club. If you're from In Color Club, I know Ramona's here. She doesn't mind. So hopefully anyone else who's in Color Club, if we decide to do Unbounded Beauty for In Color Club for next month, it kind of makes sense because, sorry, I'm just going to peel this little backing here. It coordinates with all of the colors, the Unbounded Beauty suite does. All right, so that is day number 3, card number 4. And I will quickly bring in, I moved things because I've been cleaning up. So I'll quickly bring in the cards for the other days so you can see the lineup so far if you have missed some of the first days. Oh, that's not the right card. Just about brought you the wrong one. Grab the right one here. I brought you one of the ones from In Color Club. So we have, this was day number 1, and then day number 2, I did cards number 2 and 3, which were these 2 here. So we did this nice and simple one. I posted this one today. This one has not yet posted. I'll probably either post this tonight or tomorrow. And then this is card number 4. This one is inspired by Loretta May, is her page name anyway. So those are the 4 cards so far, and tomorrow I will be back with the 5th card in the series. If you would like to earn the supplies for these cards, you can use this host code here. A $65 order will earn you the card kits for these. If you choose to place a $75 order, you will also receive the Global Creative Project Tutorial, which is a group of 12 of us around the globe. And for the June tutorial, we have all featured the Unbounded Beauty Suite. So you will get the, not the supplies, but you'll get the PDF and the video tutorials for all 12 of those if you decide to bump up to $75. And then you'll have lots of inspiration with the suite. The $65 or $75 order does not have to be made up of this product. You can make it up of whatever you want. But if you happen to already have the suite, then that might be something that you want to do, if that makes sense. All right, so if you are interested in the Take to the Sky suite, or not, sorry, not the Take to the Sky suite, the Take to the Sky class, or the ephemera pack class, you have until tomorrow to register for those. And tomorrow is also the last day to get in on the starter kit that will get you all of the in color inks, markers, DSP, and cardstock. So don't miss out on that if you are wanting those. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I realize I forgot to tell you what time tomorrow. I will just say that it is going to be 7 tomorrow instead of during the day, in case there's any more troubles with the internet, rather than me trying to fight with it. I couldn't even get into the computer today. It locked. So thankfully Ryan was able to help me from work so that I could get it to open. But just in case there's any issues, it's easier to manage when there is someone here to help. So I will say 7 o'clock tomorrow evening, I will come back. That's Central Daylight Time and same time as today. So I will come back tomorrow and do card number 5 in the series. Thanks guys for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow. Good night, everyone.